I'm sippin', 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 I'm sippin'.
Sippin', I'm 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 sippin'.
So, this is Sippin' with Sammie. I am Sippin' with Sammie, Sam Malone, Barstool, Rug. If you ain't Sippin' with Sammie, get your fucking life together. And I'm in the situation room, man. I got D the comedian.
Praise God.
Decent. You know what I'm saying? Spelled Dicent, but pronounced decent.
Yeah.
One of the hardest motherfuckers.
It's spelled Dicent for those that smoke a lot of fucking weed, okay? And they're not used to
All right,
reading.
so I'll take that. And I also got the Chris Mack experience in here with me.
I ain't here.
All right, fuck you.
Yeah.
But it's funny
She had
though.
a dope intro. I thought I would have a dope intro.
Right.
Well, I have you around a lot, so you ain't a special.
I know, but she said God bless. So I thought I wanted to say something too. She's a comedian.
Number one, he looks like a Skinny the Baby, okay? He looked like the baby.
Not going baby or baby.
For
That
real.
nigga a bitch.
Not this one.
No, he was talking about the nigga that was a bitch.
Oh
not
yeah,
you.
that nigga's a beat.
Yeah, that nigga a bitch.
You gotta say it like that. That nigga's a bitch.
That nigga a bitch.
Sometimes I wish I was from the West Coast just for their accent.
Yeah.
I really
Yeah.
wish I had it, cause I just want to walk around with somebody little mark ass chick ass.
No,
bitch.
that
You know what I'm
Nipsey,
saying? Little mark ass nigga.
Mark ass.
Ricky!
Yo, that Nipsey Snowfall accent is the shit.
Yeah, like
like Mark ass Buster.
hey,
And they
you
do a
right
lot of
there.
shit with their face. Like they just tilt their head and shit.
Bro, Ice Cube face.
It's like, oh, you know a nigga serious when he to the left.
You know who got the? You know who make the two people that make the Ice Cube and Snoop Dogg? They probably got.
Ice-T too on SVU.
Oh
You watch
yeah,
SVU like me.
no. Facts.
If you watch SVU
It be
like me.
real
SVU
intense.
Ice-T is
Real
comical to me.
It's intense.
No, what fucks me up is
He makes me
Ice-T
wanna
go
tell.
from gangster to cop. That shit fucks me up. You know what I'm
No,
saying?
how you go from cop killer
Right.
Yeah.
to
Right.
all your roles is a cop?
It is a cop.
Not
Exactly.
playing a cop.
Right.
You would play the cop for 20 seasons.
Yeah. That blows my mind.
I guess
Yeah.
we call that growth.
Yeah, I about to say, is that maturity?
I guess you call that ratting.
I don't know what that is.
That nigga got to the
You know-
bag and was like, you know what? Y'all ain't so bad.
Right.
I think I like
Real
y'all.
shit.
It's a
Real
lot of
shit.
things that we, that society, looks past that people do, and we don't question because they got a bag.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? Like a big thing. I was having an argument the other day, right? About T.I.
Okay.
Okay.
Right?
Let's talk about it.
Right.
It's no way you're a black man driving with assault rifles in your trunk, and you do a year, and that's it.
Right.
First of all, that's not the story, but I hear what you're saying.
I'm
Go
just
ahead.
saying on paper what they give you.
He didn't get pulled over. And
It's
that,
deeper.
but go
It's
ahead.
deep.
Yeah.
No. It's a lot deeper. I got some details. Some people call my phone. They was a little upset, and they call my phone and give me some details.
Yeah.
But real shit. I mean,
But
did,
it's
he do,
just-
did he do a year?
He
He
did.
did a year.
He did a year.
He did his year in a
With
day.
a bunch of assault rifles being black in America.
Just
That's
on
amazing.
paper. On paper.
That's amazing.
As a
Just
felon.
on paper. As a
Amazing.
as
I
a
appreciate
felon.
that though. It's
As
about
a felon.
time.
Yeah.
But y'all don't
Yeah,
notice
shit.
something I noticed about Atlanta, yo? Motherfuckers, they get away with murder out there.
Oh
Literally.
yeah.
Like Atlanta and Chicago, from what I've been paying attention to, motherfuckers get booked with all these ratchets, all these attempts and all that shit, and come right back out without being caught labeled a snitch or nobody's finding no paperwork on them. And it's just like, I don't know if it's the volume or the law structure or how it is, but I
Jersey,
feel
too.
like for instance, perfect example, Meek Mill.
Okay.
When Meek said he been on probation for 12 years, New York niggas was like, how?
Right.
Because the max out there is 5 years.
Right.
They don't even know that it's possible for you to be in that, like what we go through. And mind you, we wild as shit with that over our head.
Right.
There's places where this shit ain't that strict. Like I think it was Chicago where if after 2 years they don't solve the shit, you free.
Right.
If it's a murder.
Right. Well, I mean, you have to look at who's being elected in these positions. You know what I mean? It's just actually it boils down to the person and their power.
And we in the Commonwealth too, which plays a part.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, I do
That's part of that.
appreciate our new DA who said, like, he had HBO that interviewed him recently, and he talked about how he's going to stop he's going to make sure that people with misdemeanors and the small weed bag charges and stuff, he's just going to let them out. He ain't got time for that.
You know,
You know what I mean?
You know,
So
they,
he actually
record,
interviewed
too.
with HBO and said that.
if
That's
they
what he's
expunge
trying
all
to
that
do.
shit, I ain't got no record.
What?
If they expunge all that shit, I ain't got no record. Well, it was a firearm on one of the times I was booked, but that should have been clear.
I hope they
But
do.
like, if they expunge just weed shit,
Right.
I ain't
Yeah.
got no
Yeah,
fucking
he
record.
said he's
yo.
tired of it. He said the jails are too full with all that. And the prolonging. Like, once you get booked, then you go ahead, you make bail. Then, I don't know. I never
And let me
did
be
nothing
clear.
criminal.
Everybody,
clear.
Yeah, I mean,
everybody's.
Let me
When
be
you
clear
go to
because
court-
this on the internet. I don't have a record based on convictions. But if you pull up,
Right.
I've been to court. I've
Yeah,
been
But
arrested.
think about it,
facts,
though.
facts.
But
For
think
that
about
That's
it.
how that's how my situation.
The court appeals last longer than your record.
No,
Over
legit.
and over again. You
Yeah.
go into court every 5 minutes. Then when you get there on time, got the lawyer.
And
it's
paid my
another
court
bill.
fees.
Yeah.
So it should
Yeah.
that should be a wash.
I
That
think,
should be
I
the
think
easy
that's
part to
what
get rid
takes,
of.
That's what takes long.
Past that?
Is
I tell you
which
it
one?
is. I tell you it is. Don't just expunge. I want my money back from court.
Real rat.
No,
Right.
no,
Legit.
I'm
And
owed.
paying your lawyer every time.
I'm
I
owed
need that.
lawyer fees,
Facts.
bails, all
I'll
types
bring
of
up
shit.
all them.
That's where the
Look.
brand come from.
I'll bring up. I'll go right there. Here's receipts.
Right.
You don't got to give it all back,
Right.
but I need a portion.
But that's where it all comes
Nice
from.
lump sum.
Prolonging.
Tell me the date that my court date was, and I'm gonna show you the check that motherfucker got
Facts.
written for that situation.
Pretty much.
And let's talk
Taking
about-
off from work
Legit.
or not being able to go to work.
That's
Oh
what
no,
it is.
losing
Sitting there for hours.
Losing money.
And then when you sit there for hours, they tell you, come back for another date.
jobs and risking
Yeah,
jobs
Losing jobs, risking jobs.
because you gotta fight this shit for a year, no matter fucking what,
What?
and you
Yeah.
gotta go every other month.
Oh, no, but then the process of getting it off your record is utterly ridiculous.
Oh, yeah, no,
like
that's
Mark
even-
Wahlberg.
yeah.
Mark Wahlberg got bread on top of bread.
And that
This
shit still
man
came
still
up.
trying
That shit
to
still
get
came up
his record expunged.
'Cause he
You
did
mean,
some
been
racial
in a
shit.
1,000 movies, got so much money,
because
but he's
his
still trying to get his record
because his
expunged.
was racial. That
But
shit
either
don't
way-
that shit don't stop him from
Wait,
getting
but
in Canada.
I'm not talking
That don't
about
stop
what
him from
he
getting
did. I'm
Canada.
just talking about how it
No,
sticks to
no,
you.
absolutely, you're right. But the only reason, like somebody at Mark Wahlberg's level, the only reason he cares about expungement is because
of
what
the
it was
nature
racial.
of the year.
He's good.
What did he do?
He basically committed a racially hate
A
crime
race hate
when
crime.
he was younger. You know what I
As a
mean? And he
teenager.
regrets it.
Like
He
a teenager.
As a teenager.
Growing
you know
up
what I
in
mean?
Boston,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you know
and I
what
mean we're forgiving people, but at the same time, you might have threw some piss on a white boy when you was 12 if you ain't know no better. Like you don't like I
Right.
don't know what niggas did.
Right.
You know what I mean? But like yeah,
Yeah, but you know
Oh,
what
yeah,
I'm
no,
saying?
I didn't bully the couple. I ain't
you
gonna
grew up in the
front.
county, so I thought you.
Yeah. I was the
I'm
only-
light-skinned. I
like-
never
no,
did
I
that.
was the only, because I
Never
was
did
like,
that.
because in the county, like growing up in the county, like in like 95, 96,
Yeah.
97, 2000, 2001, you really like, I was like the only black kid in them classes. So like,
Yeah.
I was already on the defensive. Like, I don't
That-
even,
No, that's a different
you
experience,
know,
bro.
it is. Like,
Right.
I'm like, yo, like, no, like,
Yeah.
See,
No.
my
Defend
experience,
yourself.
mine was
Yeah.
like the opposite. Like I went to pre-K to 8th all black private school. High school, a magnet. I went to ENS, so magnet
Gotcha.
public school that's
Mm.
predominantly black and minority with a few whites.
Right.
And then I went to Roman Catholic that was predominantly white.
right.
But by the time I got to Roman, I'm 15, 16 years old. I already know a little bit more about life, and I don't know that many white people.
Right.
So my perception was, they the type that if you fuck with them, they go home and write a list
Mm-hmm.
and come back and execute their list. And I don't want to be on their list.
Right. Well,
So
touching,
I didn't pick on people that was like look like
Yeah.
victims.
Right.
No,
Where
I
a lot of
picked on
times they
bullies.
do. They bully.
But
They
you
literally
know what?
bully each other.
That brings
I
up a
picked
really
on
good
bullies.
point, what y'all both brought up. Like, for instance, myself, I was in a women's prison ever since I was 5. Yeah, I'm saying, no, I'm just fucking with y'all. Y'all like,
Yo,
That's
you
how they
see-
No,
hide. I was
I
just
wanted to
fucking with
see
they
what you-
eye.
I
That's
thought it
all
was
that
a-
was. That was some.
I thought it was
I
a.
was. You
I
see
thought it
me,
was
I'm
a
like,
bit.
I'm like, this is good.
No, I
Like,
thought it was
like,
a bit. I'm like, where we going?
No, I'm
Like,
fucking with
I
you.
know you a
No, no,
comedian.
no,
I
no.
thought she had a whole play.
Cross my legs.
Like,
Like,
Nigga, I was ready.
We can believe it,
this
Dyke.
is
No, I
okay.
wouldn't. Not
No,
that.
like this.
Not like that, but you don't never know. But no,
You don't
I didn't
know
think. I didn't think you was
background,
serious
like-
though.
No.
I
But what
did.
I
I'm
will say is this:
From
is
5?
that from 5,
Like, they
I was
done
in a
sent her
women's
home.
prison From 5, she called.
Like, bro,
What that
this
bitch?
foster home.
My face.
Like, she's just gonna hang out in there.
Yo, if you see my
This ain't
face,
Peru.
He was like, "Orange is the
We
new
ain't in
black,
Cuba,
bitch.
bro.
This
She
bitch
going
is
home.
new
No,
black."
cause like, yo, I'm not gonna lie, yo. Alright, so I watched Wentworth, right?
Oh yeah, that's
Uh-oh.
that shit.
See?
So in the joint in Wentworth, she had her daughter, like her
Yeah.
child with her.
What
the
country-
whole
what country was that?
time. I know that. I know it wasn't the United States, but who knows?
No, but on the
Like,
real though, like that brings up a good point because
Yeah, let's
I
get to the
went
point.
to an all-girl Catholic school, right?
Mhm.
And then I transitioned in the 4th grade to a co-ed public school. And like you said, you know, you went to an all-black private school, then you went to, you know, a school that was mixed, things like that, going to the county. I feel like that brings up a good point. When you transition, parents that transition their children in the school system or different environments, they have to groom them for the real world at an early age. A lot of people are like, no, wait until they're this age, wait till preteen, teenage. No, because if you're going to move neighborhoods, if you're going to transition your child into different educational institutions, because I didn't understand why everybody in my public school was cursing up a storm when I went to private school, that's not what we were doing.
Light. It was nothing.
And then they were bullying me because I wasn't
wasn't
cursing.
like that, yeah.
So then I started cursing so I could fit in.
And then you sounded funny
And it
cursing.
put me through like
Then they said
a
you sounded
strange
weird cursing.
confusion, dog.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
real rap, because I just wanted to try to fit in and make friends.
Right.
And then I started bullying, and I started getting in trouble and shit. So, you know, and that goes
That's a
into
cycle.
Dayton, Ohio's, and the El Paso, Texas. Like, you know what I mean? What were their transitions
Hurt people.
as young people? You know what I mean? We have to be more conscientious about how we transition our kids, man.
Absolutely.
Real rap. And
Now-
we have to keep it 100 with them. Like, honey, when we move from this demographic neighborhood into this next demographic neighborhood, this is how it may be.
Now,
You know
see,
what I mean?
I think that's a great point for one specific reason. We come from a generation of the parents that were trying to get out of a situation.
Right.
When they got us into a better situation, which is a different school district, which is considered better, but may put us in a different life situation,
Right.
they're looking at it as if we're in an easier circumstance so we can survive it. They're not looking at it like we're not them and we don't come from. And I mean, me, I was born where I stayed for the majority of my life. You know what I mean? I come from Mount Airy. My family was in West Philly.
Uptown,
I bounced
Uptown.
back and forth from Mount Airy to West Philly
Me too.
my whole life. So I wasn't that far from the bullshit.
Right.
But if my dad was one of them dads that thought he had to move to Cheltenham,
Mm.
I'd have had a different experience, which is across the street from where I grew up from, but it's a whole nother world.
Yeah.
Now, if he'd have moved there, he'd have been thinking of it like, we come from blase blah whoopty whoop. He good.
Right.
And it wouldn't have been his fault.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right,
Because at the end of the day, from what he know, coming up against racism,
Yeah.
the poverty, all type of things that he faced, it's like, well, no, this is a school that takes care of you. They got programs for you. You can do whatever you want. He doesn't realize that I might get ridiculed and might not have the sense of self to fight through that.
Right.
Now, the major part about my story, which is something that me and the people I went to elementary and middle school talk about often and that we appreciate about our school that I don't hear from a lot of people about their school, they gave us a sense of self.
Right.
Being as though it was a black private school, every month was Black History Month. When you
Right.
walked down Paul's, it was always a board up of some history of your own. You know what I mean? And when we were released to these other institutions, because a lot of us went to Centrals and Girls
I went to
Highs
Girls High.
and Mastermans, and
Right.
you know, we came from a good school. We went to good schools. We got integrated into things we never was used to. Everybody in the class looked like us, literally. You know what I mean? And then we get shifted, and now it's three of us.
Right.
And then you're in homeroom. I'll tell you a story. I'm in Roman. We in homeroom. We all talking about, somehow fathers came up.
Okay.
It's about 8 black guys in my homeroom. Out of probably 30 kids, I'm the only black guy in my room that has a positive relationship with my father. Amongst a room full of white kids, that it's the opposite for them.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? And not saying that they don't exist, but in this world, in Roman Catholic,
Right.
it's the opposite for them.
Right.
Literally, because we had the conversation as you know, everybody that was really talking was talking. But it was weird because when I say have a positive relationship, it don't mean that my dad lives in my house.
Right.
It don't mean that I see my dad all the time. It means that most of them hated their father or didn't understand the dynamic
Right.
with their father and resented their father, even though I don't think most of them, I don't want to say they hated them. They didn't understand emotions, so they resented them
Right.
for whatever reasons. But it's such a common
it is.
thing
It's
that
resentment.
until I wound up in that world, I didn't realize the difference of the balance of it.
Right. Right.
You see what I'm
See,
saying?
I'm a, you know, well, what I do is I work in human services. You know, I have a background and I have a degree from Westchester in communications and a master's in business from Gwinnett Mercy.
Say that.
And you
Bullshit.
know what I
Right, I
have,
was about to
what
say,
I have
okay.
learned
Oh no,
True.
he
in
worked.
my career. You know what I mean? What I've learned
That's
in
what
my
I'm talking
career, you know, of working in social work, is that we come from a motherly, Mother Earth society. You know what I mean? Feministic society. A lot of women say, "Oh, it's a man's world," but when I go into a home and I'm doing my job as a social worker, what have you, I mainly used to direct the information to the woman, the female, and that man would be all up in that house, and he would just walk past and go out the door, you know, things like that. There are resources like the National Institute for Fathers is in Philadelphia, and it's actually ran by a woman. A lot of people don't know that. You know what I mean? And the sad thing is that we need to have more resource fairs. We have high school fairs, we have job fairs, but we don't have enough resource fairs, you know, where things like that wouldn't occur, you know.
And we need to share it more when these things happen.
Most
We need to be as prominent about that as what's trending.
And then we
more
also
so.
need to be transparent about how we exert the information. For instance, you know, a lot of people can relate to me when I walk in their home and I'll do a home and safety check, or I'm doing some kind of safety checks on their kids, their families, whatever. I'm an investigator right now. But when I look like this and when I just talk the talk. I don't beat around the bush. I keep it real with you.
Right.
I let you know the consequences, but I let you know how you can get there before you get to the consequences.
And you being genuine too. You're not
Oh, yeah.
you're not running off a script.
Oh, yeah, no, not
Because
at all.
that's important too. Because people can tell when they're being talked.
Yeah, when I did substitute teaching, you know, at Mastery Charter School, my kids related to me because of the fact that I went against the grain of the worksheet that they gave me. See, most substitutes walk in, pass out a worksheet, take attendance, and call it a day. But while they were doing these worksheets that weren't really triggering their mental, I was teaching about real estate, you know, saving, finances. I talked to them about, oh yeah, I hosted for Young in May, but then I pulled them in with that, and then I gave them some education.
School.
Oh yeah. I drive for Lyft. You know, I got hustles out of my ass. You know what I mean?
I know you a hustler.
I drive for Lyft, and any young person gets in my car, I try to talk to them as much as possible about the wrongs that I did. I fucked my credit up, boom, get it right, doing this, that, and the third. I had a young boy in my car. They were going to Plymouth meet into a movie, him and his two friends. And he was just like, you know, can I ask you a question? I said, what's up? And he was like, you know, because we were driving through Plymouth meet, and I said, you know, y'all should take in what we're around. Look at this real estate. It's a lot of prime real estate all around us in Philadelphia.
And there's black people out there.
Outside counties.
And there's black people out there.
Yeah.
You could be there too.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I've connected with so many lawyers and doctors and just so many people that I've met in my life working with Power 99s and from the entertainment side to the social work side. And, you know, when I went to Bryn Mawr College, because I'm looking to get my master's in social work, they were just like, how are you going to try to blend the two? And I said, well, the most influential thing in this world is arts.
Always.
You know what I mean? People are a professor listens to music probably when they're grading
I
papers.
can't live without music.
You know what I mean? Yeah, you can't live without music, movies, some kind of entertainment and arts. So with Bill Cosby, I don't care what you say about him. You can talk about his case in the day as long, but as a comedian too, one of my hustles, I learned from Bill Cosby was that no matter what stage you get on, try to bring out some kind of social change in your routine. You know what I mean? And that's what we have to do. We have to bring social change in any and everything we do. Any and everything we do, we put social change in it. That's why Kevin Hart is successful. He's not just successful sitting there talking about his dad being on drugs. He taught people a story like, I'm just like you, but look where I'm at. My mom gave me $30,000 when I didn't have nothing, and now look where I'm at. And now I'm giving it back tenfold.
So when you include social change into your... You're funny, because I don't even know if you write sets. Do you write sets? Let me start there.
Some routines I write, and then other things I just go off.
Yeah, because you're very improvisational, just in your delivery in person.
My period just came
tell.
Fucking crazy. But so when it's time to put social things, fuck it, you know, it's cool. It'll be alright. You wipe it up. It's been, you know, but when you put social shit and try to influence social change in your routine,
right?
Is it difficult? Does it have to be funny? Can it just be a statement? Can it be a point and we could build from there? Like, how do you choose to attack it, or does it vary?
Well,
because there's various ways to do that, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Dave Chappelle does it, Chris Rock does it, Wanda Sykes does it.
Different ways, yeah.
Yeah, like Dave Chappelle's newest stand-up, Sticks and Stones on Netflix.
Beautiful.
You know, it's
beautiful.
Raw. It's raw
fucking
when he
beautiful.
talks about Mike Jack and he talks about the molestation in the new movie and all that. But then he wraps it up. It's like, you can throw the joke out there, but you got to wrap it up with saying, listen.
Well, his callback game is phenomenal.
Oh, yeah. And it's like when my first comedy competition, I was scared to death. My ex threw me in and she was just like, you know, the Laugh House came to my college one time and they wanted me to perform, and I was scared. I was like, I'm not funny. That's not what I do. I'm not.
What
I
college,
didn't know my
Cheney?
calling. I went to Westchester. Yeah, and I didn't know my calling. I just hosted a lot of shows. You know, I hosted over 100 shows for the Kappas and the Greeks and everybody. And people just kept telling, you know, saying I was funny. Went back to Philly, told people at the Laugh House. They came all the way up, 45 to an hour, to meet me and say, you know, we want you to come perform. And I was, 19, 20. And I said, I said, that's not what I do. I do radio and I host. That's it. So here nor there. Now I'm friends with the owner of the Laugh House who helped Kevin Hart get where he's at. You know, shout out to Mr. Rod. But here nor there, when my ex later on, she said, you know, you funny as shit. Like I just put you in a comedy competition. I was like, are you kidding me?
That's how Ron
$30 a
Jeremy
ticket.
got in porn.
Yeah, 30. She just believed in me and she pushed me because you gotta push people. Yeah, you just gotta push people.
His girlfriend signed him up for Playboy.
That's it. You know what I mean?
Playgirl.
Like, you gotta have somebody
Shout out
that
those
believes you
girlfriends,
enough.
man. I got applications.
Well, I mean,
Believe in me. That's all I ask.
I got a 10-inch dildo in the car. We can, you know, swap
What the
stories.
fuck?
So
Anyway.
but here nor there, my ex, she put me in a comedy. She like, what? She put me in a comedy competition. $30 a ticket. Madonna's brother, the singer Madonna's brother, was one of the judges. Blew my head.
Wow.
And that was a lot of pressure to be on your first, you know, comedy stage. So that day, I had no routine written.
How many minutes?
It was about 10 to 15 minute routine.
That's
This
long.
is my first
That's long up
stand
there.
up.
Yeah.
I never did stand up before, but I sat there and I saw that video with Bill Cosby talked about social change, and that was the same time that on 55th and Lansdowne they had beat a Muslim brother at the Chinese store, the cops.
Dang.
So after I saw that video about black comedians and social change and all that, I wrote a routine. And I included that incident in it. That's when I'm answering your question in regards to social change and how do you present that in a comedy routine. So I wanted to bring awareness to where I lived at. I lived at 59th and Lansdowne, and just 4 blocks down, a brother was just beat at a Chinese store for getting some food by 2 cops. So I wanted to put that in my routine. I didn't know how I was going to present it, but I said some way, somehow, if I'm going to be in a room, especially full of white folks, I'm going to let them be aware of what the fuck is going on out here, you know what I'm saying, and where I'm from. So I got on that, well, before I got on the stage, it was a white guy who was a comedian. He won this all neighborhood games comedy competition. He wasn't even gay, but they just had different people from different areas in the tri-state that just jumped on stage.
Word.
And he kept trying to get me drunk. Now, you know, black people, you can keep giving us more and more. We're going to get funnier and funnier, motherfucker.
Right.
That's the
Facts.
point.
That's the. I'm about
I
to
don't know
say.
what
He
you
was trying
thought
to get
you
you
was
off
doing,
your shit,
bitch.
but he was getting you in your
Yeah,
bag.
he kept buying me shots and shit. He knew I was in the competition with him. So he was trying to get me drunk, but he didn't know I was fat. You know what I mean? So
He
you know,
could-
soaks it
he ain't
up.
see you?
I have a thyroid problem.
Well,
so
you was hiding?
yeah, the nut ass nigga didn't know. So he kept buying me shots, and I was fat, soaked it up. That was my kryptonite. That wasn't my kryptonite, and I just kept
Love
drinking
her.
and drinking. Boom. And I got on the stage, and I wrote a routine, but I went all the way away from it.
Did you even start it?
I just started busting on motherfuckers in the audience.
From the gate?
Oh, yeah.
From
I
the
just
giddy
got
up?
on the stage. I did Mark Curry shit. If anybody see Mark Curry
Yeah,
stand
I've seen
up,
Mark.
motherfucker's amazing. He'll get off the stage. He's tall as fuck. Stand on top of the chair, point at you, talk to you, all that shit.
He underrated too.
Oh yeah, Mark Curry's amazing.
Because
and that's what I
everybody
did.
remember
I
hanging with
just
Mr.
started
Cooper.
hitting that room, boom, 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 and I started busting on motherfuckers. Then I went back into my routine. I remembered it because I was nervous.
Oh, so you
So
forgot
I
it.
just did improv comedy real quick. Then I went into a routine, and I wound up winning the whole competition.
So you a
name in
natural.
the paper, all that shit.
She was a
Yeah, like I
natural.
do what I
She
do
was
because
right.
That's my calling. But what I did was to wrap the routine up was, again, going back to what you said, I brought in that social change about that brother being beat in the store. And I said, look, the way I did it was, I said, let them beat me. I'm not letting go of that shrimp fried rice. Leave that shit. And motherfuckers still was able to get what I was saying.
see
And
what
I
you
said,
did
in the
there.
end, y'all, you know, we have to be there for each other, take up for one another, pull your phones out, put it on blast, you know what I'm saying? So I said my joke, but then I also put in the message. And that's how you do it. Like, you got to make sure that with this podcast, you're bringing social conscious awareness and change.
Oh, yeah.
You could smoke, you could drink, whatever, but
No, but
still
we gonna talk
intelligent.
about some shit.
You know what I'm saying?
we
This
gonna
is
talk
still
about some
intelligent
shit, right.
we doing, you know what
Right,
I'm saying?
absolutely. No, and I was about to tell you, I agree with that 100%. But, like, is it just a natural thing? Do you already know where that twist is going to come in at where you can make it funny?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And life is funny.
Well, see, like you said, part of your story, part of what you said during your story was you kind of proved that you're a natural, which is what I was saying before you started your story when I asked you if you even write.
Right.
It's like you're funny.
Right.
Period.
Right.
You know what I mean? And
good energy, good
and
vibes.
and
I appreciate
being a stand-up isn't just about being funny at all.
Right.
But when you have timing, when you have knowledge, and when you are natural, then a lot of those things come together when you work at it. And hosting is a form of that.
Right.
Legit.
Like I did a sound check for the festival a few weeks, probably a couple months ago at this point. And on my sound check, they was trying to get my music together and all that. I'm staying up there with a mic, so I just started talking to people, and I got a podcast or whatever. But I'm talking shit because I always talk shit, so it's never just like a resume. It's like I'm fucking with the people and talking back to them, and engaging. And when I got off, my man was like, for like the first couple minutes, you was on some comedian shit, and not that I'm saying I could be one.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, what we do when we're hosting our natural inclinations of filling out a room and filling out a crowd is something you were already doing.
Right.
So you being funny on top of that
Right.
made the transition easy.
See,
But it's
we
hard
all
for
are
you to get
comedians.
up
That's
there.
the crazy part.
Nah.
I'm gonna tell you. Yes,
No,
we are. I'm
no,
gonna tell
no,
you.
I agree.
no,
I think
no,
I am.
no.
Listen,
We
I
all could
promise
be
you
comedians,
this.
but no.
We all got it in us. We
That's
all
possible.
got it in us.
That's
like
possible.
You did.
I think you can find your funny.
Exactly.
I think everybody can find their funny.
No, you know what?
Yeah,
let me
'cause it's a
rephrase
million
that. Let me
funny-
But
rephrase
that's
what
not
I
a
said.
comedian.
Let me run back what Steve Harvey said. Let me run this back. Steve Harvey said this. He said, "A lot of people can be comics. Not everybody can
Could
be
be a
comedians."
comedian.
He said because
Exactly.
a comic is something you read in the paper that's temporary funny, but a comedian lasts a lifetime and is legendary. So I will rephrase that and say we all have comic ways about us.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
That's
We
why you
all
can people
have
watch,
comic
'cause
ways
people are
about
funny
us.
as shit.
Yes. But not everybody can be a comedian, that's right. You know, to hold down over 3 to 5, 10 to 15s, whatever.
No, it's not even that.
Transition.
You're
Right.
a comedian.
Right.
How many different places locally have you performed in? About 100, right?
I perform, yeah.
How many places outside of local have you performed in?
Atlanta, Miami.
Miami. Shout out Miami.
York.
I love Miami so much.
So with
A
that
couple
being said,
states.
I love Miami.
you could tell the
DC.
same. You could tell the
I love
same
DC.
jokes. You could tell the same jokes in 50 different rooms.
Right,
You don't deliver them the same way,
right.
and you don't get the same
Oh,
exact
I'm Whitney
response.
Houston of comedy. How Whitney did things live, she never sang it the same.
Exactly.
One thing you won't get out of me is the same jokes.
So you don't get
I
this,
don't try
and
to
you don't
repeat the same
necessarily always get the same response sometimes.
No. Well, I
Even
mean,
if
I
it's
had
always,
one of them-
even if it's always good, sometimes there's a before the.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
One stand up I did in South Philly, I took my bra off and my shirt off.
Yeah,
I stood there.
I feel like
my titties
I feel like
out.
I saw it on
Can't get
Instagram.
me pregnant.
I feel like I
But
saw it
yeah,
on
my
Instagram.
titties were out. My cameraman couldn't believe it. I had a cameraman with me. He said, "I've never in my life seen anybody like you." I did, because what it was he heckled the girl that was before me. It was a young white girl. She was good. I enjoyed her. And I didn't like how this man, he was from Scotland or Ireland, and he was in the audience, and I was sitting in the back. And I didn't like how he was like, show your tits.
Oh shit! So he
said,
set you
and
up.
I said, okay.
I'll
that's
show you
what
some
he
tits.
wants. I said, that's what he wants. And she was trying to finish her routine, and he kept trying to mess with her. So
It's like Coyote Ugly.
She kind of got caught up a little bit, and she got off. So it was my turn. I said, hey, kiddo, how are you? I said, this is Orange is the New Black, and I'm about to show you some black-ass tits. And I took all my shit off. He was like, oh, my God. Yeah. And I said, yeah, nigga, it's a horror film. It's a black horror film right now. And I walked all up in his face, put my nipples all in his face, all that shit. I push it to the limit. I don't give a fuck.
No, that's
have
one
done some
thing y'all
crazy
gotta know
shit,
about.
dog.
D don't give a fuck.
I don't give a fuck.
Like, and that's why I knew this was gonna be fun.
Yep.
Cause she's been reserved. She doesn't give a fuck, yo,
No.
at all. But
I've done some
she's
things.
funny, and nothing is evil spirited.
That's different.
You know what I'm saying? So it's a different thing.
Yeah.
But that's my point about the difference between a comic and a comedian.
Yeah.
If you go in that many different spaces with this many different diverse crowds, everybody can't pull up. You could be funny in this room and not in that room.
Right.
And mind you, nobody kills every night. Sometimes you have a good night. Sometimes you get by. Sometimes you bomb, even at your peak.
Richard
because
Pryor got bombed in Sunset Boulevard. I'll never forget that stand-up he did.
But it's still a classic.
Yeah, it's a class because you want to know why he got.
Because he was
bombed
out there
that
filling
first
shit out.
night of when he performed Sunset Boulevard in California, and he was so disappointed in himself. He came back, he redid it, and he killed it.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
He went in there to fill out a set and he bombed. But
Yeah.
that's another thing as a comedian that I hear a lot of comedians talk about. A lot of times, if it's not a major production, they working out their set.
Yeah.
You trying to figure out certain things and you trying to perfect certain things because it gets bigger after that. You have other things that you working towards, or might even have on deck that is coming in 2 or 3 months that you got to go perform for. So a lot of times y'all got to go up there and stand through the unfair treatment of you working out.
The most strange.
I don't think it's unfair, but
I feel like the most stressful
probably uncomfortable
part of entertainment is comedy. We don't have the instrumentation behind us.
Nothing.
It is us. And you have to be able to take ridicule, give ridicule, and that's a lot of pressure. That's why you do see a lot of comedians like Robin Williams, they, unfortunately committed suicide.
Right.
Because you will have, I was just in the lift and I was talking to these young people and, I was saying how I was a comedian. They was like, tell us a joke right now. And it was just like a lot of pressure where it was like,
it's not really how it works.
That's not how it works. But then when we kept talking, then it
you
started
grinded
coming
him up.
out. And I mean, just imagine being a Jim Carrey. That's why Jim Carrey is more in a shell now. And a political, he's into politics and stuff. You know what I mean? He is on
Jim telling y'all
comedians in cars drinking coffee with Jerry Seinfeld. I just saw that.
I didn't see that one yet. I gotta watch
good.
it.
It's nice to see Jim still there, but he's not.
Because Jim's not of this world anymore.
Oh yeah,
Jim checked
a lot
out.
of comedians, have you noticed, they go into a shell.
But I think a lot of the times y'all already aren't of this world. But when you get to a certain level of understanding about things that we're not privy to, then it takes over. And
especially if you are a comedian where you take from myself, I take from media. You know what I mean? I like to be in the here and the now when I do my stand-up. When I do stand-up, I have a background in communications. I love David Muir, World News Tonight. And I watch World News Tonight every day at 6:30. So I may take something current event-wise and utilize it through my funny. But the thing about it is, it's hard as a comedian to be funny when you seeing, a man and his daughter who's trying to come to America that's dead in the water, and they're immigrants. All they want is freedom.
But we need you to be funny. That's what we need you to be funny.
Y'all happy.
That's what we need you to be funny.
But I'm saying I have to suppress it in order to be the Joker.
No, but that's why I appreciate it so much. And well, I'm a big fan of comedians in general. I'm a big fan of timing. Yeah. I'm big on timing. When it comes to a lot of aspects of life, but just in delivery in general, like I don't care if it's the boardroom or whatever, it's about how you deliver. And I think that spoken word without music and stand-up comedy are the rawest forms of that, where it's like it's all on you and it's all about how you ride the silence or how you ride the laughter and when you come back and what twist that you're going to come with and how they like it's not 100% at all that you know when you go out there this is how I'm doing it. If I do a verse, it's set to a tone, a pace, and a beat, right? So every time I perform that verse, no matter if the beat change or not, somewhere within a certain amount of BPMs, I'm doing the same thing. Right. The same exact thing. Right. You know what I mean? I don't have to switch anything. And more than likely, it's set up so that they catch this part because that's what a hook is. They know this part. They know the popular part. Right. And we gonna get through it. Right. But when it's just you standing up there, and you dark inside.
No, you're dark inside.
No, you know that you just saw today.
You're dark.
Today you saw that. Today you saw that man and his daughter wash up on the shores for trying to get freedom, and you know you still gotta go out here and make these people forget about that shit.
Right. Oh, I'm gonna actually remind them of it.
But how do you
do it my way?
But how do you go out there?
Well, like I told you,
because these is life lessons. Because let me preface it.
Right.
There's a lot of people that think that if they had a bad 7 in the morning to 9 in the morning, then everybody at work better not fuck with them.
Right.
So it takes a lot to be in a certain place for a lot of people, and clearly that's not her. But also, she's not exempt from emotion.
That's the truth. That's
None
the
of us
truth.
are,
That's the truth.
right? So I'm speaking to that point. You see what I'm saying? To where like,
That makes sense.
so somebody listening can understand. Like, I got a job to do, and how do I separate and or even if I incorporate it, how do I not make it a Debbie Downer?
Well, that's the reason why I'm here. Because God has blessed me with a new job, moving. Just recently being married. But
Congratulations
Won't he
on
do it?
appreciate it.
congratulations
You know
on
what I mean?
all of that.
But
Congrats.
there's been a lot
He'll
of
do it.
clouds in the midst of that I'm not really going to elaborate too much into. That's
You don't need
pretty
to.
deep. You know what I
Right,
You don't
mean?
need to.
Fact,
And I'm here because I said, you know what? You got to get back out there and do your work. You know what I mean? I got to do my work, and who better to do it than with you?
Well, let's
You know
say it
what I'm saying?
online. She hit me up today.
Yeah.
Today, she said all the above. Well, half of the above. She said I was moved. I had things going on, life stuff, and I'm back around, and I want to get back around, and I know you doing your thing. So when can I get with you? And I said, what you want to do?
Right.
I said I got a
just
few
love it.
shows. What do you want to do?
Right.
I love
She
what
said,
you got going on.
I want to
man.
do the radio. I want to do the podcast. Whatever you got going on. I said,
Right.
well, we filming tonight.
Yep.
And she said, all right, well, I got physical therapy. Now, mind you, I go to physical therapy every other day my goddamn self. You see what I'm saying?
Facts.
So I'm like, well, dig it. We'll fit it around your physical therapy.
Yep.
I hit you up within the process of this.
Right.
I think I was hitting y'all simultaneously. I was talking to y'all simultaneously.
Mm-hmm.
And you was like, well, he hit me because we was supposed to get together yesterday.
Gotcha.
Facts.
So he hit me with the, yo, they got out of control. My bad. I ain't get the message, whatever. But I got time today. All I got to do is go to the studio.
Right.
What do you want to do? I'm like, well, around this time, I got folks coming through. He like, well, I'm going to go through with you.
Yeah.
And he's been here for a couple hours waiting to do this because this is what needs to be done.
Yep.
Facts.
This is my therapy.
This
This
is
my
therapeutic
therapy
for
right here,
all
man.
of
No,
us.
facts.
Like,
Everybody, exactly.
like everything that builds up to these things or that surrounds these things usually stress people like us out.
Right.
Because it's too much thinking about the wrong shit or
Right.
worrying about things that displace
matter.
our direction.
Right.
You know what I mean? Even though they might contribute to our direction, knocking 7 out of 10 offers out the air is stressful.
Facts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's stressful
Yep.
because you have to really figure out why and who and what and what's going
And
on.
when you admire, I admire you. You know what I mean?
Me?
You always. Oh yeah. Why?
I
why
appreciate
you looking
that.
surprised?
Cause I
'Cause
admire
you. Look
you.
Like you have a big dick. I mean, I admire you.
I
and
do,
I wish
but-
I had one. You know.
I mean, you got one
But,
in the car.
Yeah, I do. Praise God. So, sorry, the baby. But, I will say this, is that I admire you because you go hard. And you have a genuine heart when you do.
I appreciate that.
You know what I mean? And God
That's
bless
facts.
you. I really
You too.
respect you. And your friends, too. You know what I mean? She's been looking at me the whole time. I'm married, miss. I'm married. But
She thinks you're hilarious, by the way.
no,
I can
but
already
this
see
is
it.
the spirit and this is the vibe that needs to be put out there more and more. You know what I'm
No, for
saying?
sure.
And I love the setup. I love what you guys got going on. What's her name again?
Okay.
Okay. You doing this, sis. You know what I mean? I love a person in broadcast, especially women in broadcast. You know what I mean? So, and I said, what better show to just come back on the scene, snap out of it, and be with a positive person like yourself.
Well, I'm gonna tell you something that
Decent person like yourself.
I'm gonna tell you something that we didn't discuss. I'm doing this shit whenever it's clever.
Right.
So you have a platform that we could come. You can come with me. We could just kick the shit, just me and you.
Fuck it. Let's go.
We
I
can
don't
go
want to
to-
have sex, though.
We can go. I don't
For
want
a
to.
long time, you wanted to fuck this fat ass.
Oh,
And I said, please, not in my butt. I used to get fucked in the ass years ago.
Dig.
Not no more.
I got different questions
Bled
than you
in
think
my
I
butt.
got.
He made me bleed.
Oh my goodness.
I didn't like it.
There was a he.
Yo, yeah, I got fucked in my ass a lot of times by the same
On
boy.
TV.
Big dick
Yeah,
at a
that's
young age. He was 17 with a giant dick, and he pushed it in my butt. I said,
And that's when you
"Oh,
figured out it was
shit."
over.
Yeah, and I had Timberlands on. I said, what are you doing? I look like a guy from the back. So I thought he was gay. He probably is. Hey, what's up, Todd?
Yo.
But, now I'm the man.
Yo,
You got
you
any
are
more comebacks in
hilarious.
there?
Absolutely. For you, all day. But no,
Hi,
like
Linda.
I said, man, we can always shoot. You can always, if you have anything you promoting, because I know you be
Yeah.
having your own platforms for a long
Most
time.
definitely.
and you have events that you host and that you promote and whatever have you.
Y'all gotta come to Canada Fest too.
And mind you, and I mean, since we already done through with the K is an organizer and she situates a lot of stuff, so we can figure out hosting things and all type of things outside of me.
Shit, you a
Just
conglomerate.
because you said
we
said
all
you
are
back.
walking conglomerates. I
No,
mean,
we
let's branch it
we
out.
are a network.
Shit.
Like and on some real shit, I told niggas on the last
Come on,
episode.
man, stop playing with me, sis. I don't leave you out.
I don't want to say the last episode, but the trailing them episode, we was talking about how it used to be community, and I pointed out that the guys I was in that room with, we are a community. Our families are associated, affiliated. Their children, because I don't have any, are going to grow up with finesse in a community.
Right.
Our job is to make it as great as it could be and make it as bountiful, I guess would be the best way to say,
Right.
as possible.
Right.
Because even though things were ripped apart and torn apart, we can't get everybody that look like this on one page at one time.
Right.
But we can control the fact that we already respect each other.
Yeah.
We're already at kids' birthday parties, on weddings,
Right.
funerals, barbecues, fucking random poker nights or whatever have you
Right.
for each other, because he said he doing something, she said she doing something, we pulling up.
Exactly.
Facts.
Exactly.
That can be built on, and that gives me optimism because I know how great that can be.
Right.
Because if I got homies with 5 kids, then and I got one with 3 and one with 2. Not I ain't mean to point to you because you ain't got 3. One with 3 and one with 2 and one with whatever, and it's like that's 12 kids
Yep.
that can grow up with a net.
Of your legend.
That can grow up with a
Feeding
net
off, yep.
of
Facts.
thorough people that know everybody in the city. So if this kid is skateboarding on the
There you
other
go.
side of the city, somebody gonna be like, "Yo, that's your youngin.
Right.
Youngin, you all right?
Right.
All right, you cool? You want Gatorade or something? You cool?
Facts.
You know, like these things matter.
Yeah.
Like,
And that's why, like, even, it's amazing too when I talk to certain people, because I was just talking to my man Nazir, and shout out to Nazir the creator. He's
Word.
amazing, NKA Productions.
word.
And that was my homegirl from high school. We went to Girls High together. It's her nephew, and she hit me up and she said, "I see you have a radio show, and do you mind interviewing my nephew?" And I said, "No problem." And she invited me to the premiere of his movie. He has sickle cell anemia. And he
Which
made
is deep.
a documentary about him having sickle cell and awareness about sickle cell. Now this brother is this young kid, 19, 20. He's going to California, Atlanta. He's working with some big names. And
Word.
it's so crazy. We were talking on the phone because I said, at the age of 38, I want to be one of those cool-ass old heads that I understand the millennial. I don't want to shit on any generation how my generation, Generation X,
Got shitted
was
on.
shitted on.
What?
You know what I mean? I want to respect the generations.
Why was we Generation X?
Yeah,
That was shitting on us in itself.
Right, unknown. Like, what do you mean?
No,
How
like
we
y'all
unknown?
born to die.
Yeah.
Like, damn.
Right. You know what I mean? So I wanted to always stay connected.
No,
with
you wasn't.
how-
You was right after it.
Hold on.
I'm 29. I was born in 89.
Okay. Well,
It's kind of in the middle.
I guess.
Yeah.
You know, I try to be your friend, the baby, but but anyway.
Go ahead
CO.
though. You was doing the
CO,
song.
you should. So here nor there, it's like with the young people, I try to stay connected with some powerful young people, and I went to his sickle cell anemia premiere, and it was really wonderful. You know what I mean? Great film. And we just talked on the phone because what I'm trying to do now is move in that direction of documentaries. There's been so many things on my head that I want to do, like, these young kids on these bikes. When I'm talking about the bicycle and the 4-wheelers and all that stuff, and this is stuff that just
Don't give it all up,
It
but I'm listening
highly
to you.
interests me, and there's
Right.
other things that I want to do.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's just we have to really stay strongly connected and aware with what's going on around us. You know what I mean? When it comes to the older generation, younger generation, and our generation. You know what I mean? And this type of setup that's going on with podcasting is so important because we can move. We can literally move any and everywhere. And I want you guys to definitely come check out the Canada Fest. It's about the marijuana culture. It's about elevation culture, peace culture.
Yeah,
and y'all would be great to set up the podcast.
Let us know. We'll pull
Yeah, I
up.
want to connect you with them. I
Let me
just
know.
hosted it with DJ Amir from 100.3.
Shout out that man.
And yeah, he's awesome. And we had a great time. It was a Canada Fest pool party.
Shout out
and it's
Live
all
24.
about Live 24.
Shout out Live
Okay,
24.
okay,
That's my
you
man, that's my
already
man.
the Rob. Yeah.
I wasn't in town, so I couldn't.
Oh,
come,
it was
so.
amazing.
No, like he
man.
plugged, like he's a bull.
It's
He part of
amazing.
hip hop
It
since
was fun.
1987 and a
Nice.
lot of other shit. He got the CME podcast, the Chris Mack Experience.
Nice.
He got the tours that he's doing for underground
Like the artists and stuff like
That's
that.
local
what's up.
artists like.
Stuff like that, creating outlets and
Come
building a
on now.
platform.
That's
So
what's
like
up.
he's
That's
another
what's up.
like that's why I was glad that y'all was coming on the same night,
Yeah.
cause y'all got business to do
Oh,
too.
yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah, I
You
would
see what
love
I'm
to.
saying?
I would
Like
love to.
he out here moving.
Well,
he
listen,
don't
I'm gonna
sleep.
tell you this. You know what I mean? I'm the number one dyke on the mic. D the comedian everywhere you fucking see me in. You hear me?
Let's go.
And if you give me that microphone, I'm gonna tear this shit up. You know
I'm
what I
telling
mean?
you, I
I'ma
met her
tear
at my
this shit up.
cookout on the strength of my cousin.
Right.
You know what I mean? Shout out to her, cause we gonna say shout out to Mo.
Right.
That's the
right.
name we can
Mo
say.
all day. I
Mo.
love Mo.
But she pulled up on the strength of Mo, and Mo introduced it to me, and she was like, "This my homegirl D. She a comedian." D just started talking shit, like instantly, just started talking crazy to me for like 3 minutes, and I'm like, "She's funny as shit." And ever since then, like I've always followed what she had going on. We bumped into each
Yeah.
other plenty of fucking
Plenty
times,
of times. Plenty
and
of
it just
times.
was like the energy always, like you said, like I always felt like she was genuine. I
Right.
felt like even when like we all get shitty and might
Right.
cross a certain line.
Right.
But D never did it from an evil place.
Right.
She never
I love
does
people.
anything from a like. It's always about making the best out of a situation,
Right.
and that's something that you need to pay attention to. I know you do, but
Yeah.
just for the because we
the
talking to
viewers.
others.
Oh, definitely.
That's something that people need to pay attention to when they
Absolutely.
dealing with people,
Right.
because nothing's ever gonna go perfectly.
Right.
We've hosted and performed in a million events.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
How many times does everything run like it's supposed to run?
Right. Right. Right.
You see what I'm saying? But when everything doesn't line up, how do you recover?
Exactly.
Do you still pull your set off?
Right.
Do you still do what you came to do? When you leave a building, can you still look at the person to the right of you and say, "Did I do my job tonight?"
Right.
All right, then fuck it. I couldn't
Right.
control the rest of that shit.
I'm sorry. I'm not. I just listening to you, listening to your resume. My resume. It just brings up a topic of why is it just a Meek Mill's that's platform from Philadelphia?
Because
We are too famous. We are a famous city, and we're underrated, and we keep being in undergrounds, which underground is all that. Like, you know what I mean?
oh no,
that's
to
the
live
meat and
there is
potato.
to love there.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
but it blows my mind that it's like we're in 2019. Being 38 years old, coming from the Roots era. Coming.
I
from
can answer that
Hilltop
question.
Crew,
I can
know what
answer
I'm
the
saying?
question. I'm gonna tell you two things. First of all, it's the infrastructure. We're so close to New York with
Right.
so little infrastructure in Philly when it comes to hip hop as far as business goes
Right.
that it's not an urgency to build it here.
Right.
So for years we've had certain entities at a time. Jazz had his situation,
Right.
Gamble and Huff have they
Right.
like we've had certain entities, and I don't never want to discredit that.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? But at the same time, to be able to get on a Greyhound or the highway for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and to go to where you consider the big wigs has watered down us creating the infrastructure here. Now, with social media, with things like platforms like these, with the things that we've seen change within the time that we've been involved in entertainment, in whatever way we've been
Right.
involved in it, because we
Right.
all are multifaceted when it comes to entertainment, right?
Right.
There's opportunity to create such.
Right.
Like, he's an institution now.
Mhm.
People know when you go to Chris Mack, there's certain things that he provides at his level.
Right.
He's not going to stop building. He's going to only get greater than the level that he's at now.
Right.
So he's an institution.
Right.
You're an institution.
Right.
And you have a niche crowd along with a mainstream crowd.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So you have multiple angles that you work from multiple angles. So you'll become an institution.
Right.
But the thing is, one of the things I say about anything that I do is when I get involved in it, I want to make it a thing.
Mhm.
It's not about me being seen. It's not about who I can meet. It's about making it where people wake up on Thursday, they think the SippinWitSammie podcast drops at happy hour.
Right.
When they wake up on Friday, they think it's fucking Friday. The best happy hour in the world is coming on today.
That's
Like, it has to
That's
be a
right.
thing.
There you go.
You know what I'm saying? And one of
Trend.
those is my name, so it can seem selfish. But anything my name is on, I'm selfish about because it has to
Come
be
on.
right.
Come on.
It has to be quality.
And it has to be consistent.
It has to be consistent because the thing about consistency, and I say it every other podcast, every hustle is based on consistency. I don't give a fuck what you do. If you consistently got the okay reg, you'll consistently have an okay reg crowd.
Right.
And that might be enough to get you over.
Cheers.
But if you consistently putting that work in, you gonna consistently be around that work.
Come on, okay. Cheers to that. It's all right. Still cheers, damn it. Just pick up something. Just make it seem like we all
Bad luck. But like, that's how I feel about it. Like consistency is everything.
Exactly.
Like my cousin. Nah, this is not Newport House.
It's only about the greenery.
Yeah, it's only reefers. It's only reefers. We can roll you some. I know you be on the clock soon. But no, yeah, y'all can take a break together. You no, he's a great guy.
He just said he wanted to fuck me on the low.
Did he say that?
Say that.
He got a microphone on. He got a microphone on.
See the microphone.
He got a microphone. He got a witness.
He was like, can I fuck you on the low?
We gonna run back the tape. We gonna run back the tape.
He did. Kay, you know what I mean? Wrap this up, Kay. Wrap this date rape ass podcast up. Me too. Me too. Me too.
Me also.
My nigga.
What up, Rude?
Mr. Big Drunk.
Sam Malone. Drinking and smoking.
You know how we do.
An MGD.
I'm smoking again. I'm drinking again. Shot for shot, I think I'm gonna win. Stress relieving, the party starting, I'm all in. Let's go. You came to get fucked up, homie. Fall in, come ballin'. It's my game. Barstool, cool the name. Was on before I came. You niggas lame. Beer and brown when I get down, nigga. I don't play at all. Catch me with squad, booze brothers, club gang. We cruise lovers who bruise brothers and roll tanks. No lean bottles and blunts, a gasoline. Stances mean scoping the scene. In between, getting faded and X-rated, don't intervene.
I be drinking, I be smoking every day. I be drinking, I be smoking every day. Hey, fuck what you call it. Hey, fuck what you call it. I drink till I'm drunk cause I'm an alcoholic. I be drinking, I be smoking every day. I be drinking, I be smoking every day. Hey, fuck what you call it. Hey, fuck what you call it. I drink till I'm drunk cause I'm an alcoholic.